who was most to blame for the Pats' loss to Miami?
Oh, I'll start this off. I'll tell you, it's the Patriots' defense. I recall them having a lead and giving up a 75-yard drive on 13 plays to Ryan Fitzpatrick and a bunch of Miami Dolphins who we barely know. Now, I want to take a moment to give Brian Flores some major props. Considering how awful Miami was at the beginning of this season. The first 2 games of this season, we thought this was going to be the worst team in the history of the National Football League. And look at what he's been able to do. Somehow, some way, he was able to manufacture 5 wins, and he deserves a boatload of credit. Finally, a disciple of Bill Belichick coming out of the Patriots system, producing to some degree as a head coach, other than Bill O'Brien, of course. But the bottom line is this. When you look at the Patriots defense, the way we were raving about them, Stephon Gilmore got burnt. They gave up 75 yards on 13 plays. Ryan Fitzpatrick was looking like the second coming of Joe Montana. I look at the defense, and I'm saying regardless of how subpar Tom Brady and the Patriots offense may have looked, they gave you a lead. You had it and couldn't stop the Miami Dolphins with a number 2 seed and a bye in week 1 of the playoffs on the line in Foxborough. I'm not going to look at anybody but the defense right now when you allow that to happen.
I understand, because quite literally, if the defense holds, they win that game. But I'm not going to put this on the – and when you lose a game to Miami at home with this much on the line, like, Patriots ain't going to win the Super Bowl this year. Right. And the reason I don't think they have a chance to do it is because they just lost that game. They don't have their typical bye in the first round, followed by a home game, right? Like, you know, they've got fat off the AFC East for years and years. And as soon as the AFC East ticks up a little, let's see what they have. Okay. And there's plenty of blame to go around. But you want to focus on one person to blame? It's Tom Brady. Tom Brady was awful throughout a lot of that game. He was missing receivers every way you could miss a receiver. The interception was to whom? What was
Eric
like,
Rowe.
I mean, it's who was he throwing to? Now,
two of his Patriots in the area.
I mean,
in the same area.
He was missing. He was missing every way you could. Now, look, as I've said about the Cliff, greatness, and Tom Brady's the GOAT, can still be brilliant. They can recapture it on any one given night, but they can't do it consistently. He was great against the Bills and that great defense. He was awful against Miami. Guys, he's been protected the last couple of years by Belichick with a running game and an elite defense, historically great at times defense. And as soon as he's called upon to muster something special, like can you do better than 24 points against a bad team at home? He couldn't do it. He can't get to that level anymore. Not consistently. Maybe for a game. But now that you've given up home field, you don't have a bye in the first round, you can't just count on Brady being great for a game and that getting it done. They ain't going to get it done because the old man is an old man, and he showed it yesterday. And quickly, before I get to you, Ryan, I have to give Brian Flores props. I was planning to do it, Stephen A. The hardest thing in the world is when you are maybe the worst team anyone's ever seen to get that locker room not to quit and to continue to play tough like that all year. That really shows promise as a head coach.
Yeah, and Ryan, before we do get to you, Max, you said that Tom Brady should be the one shouldering the blame. On his weekly radio show, Brady did accept all of the blame for yesterday's loss.
Of course, because he's great.
Well, listen,
he should be elbowing the blame because his elbow looks like it's not good.
You can accept the blame when you have 6 rings. You can say whatever you want. You can say it's my fault. It's not going to change that Tom Brady is the GOAT. But we have to put this blame on Bill Belichick. And I know we get into this, well, we wanted Tom to fall off a cliff for the last 5 years, so Max is going to bring it that way. But the truth is they were leading. And the truth is we often do discredit some of the things that Tom Brady has done because he has Bill Belichick. Because Bill Belichick in the early years, in the early 2000s, it was the defense and Bill Belichick's coaching that got them Super Bowls. Well, Bill Belichick has to get this defense off of the field. So many times this year, when they've been struggling, we've panned to the sideline, and Bill Belichick is sitting in front of the defense and imploring them and giving them different adjustments and different changes, and then that defense goes out and balls, and we talk about how great Bill Belichick has been, not only as a head coach, but as the defensive coordinator. And see, what we didn't really pay attention to was that this team wasn't loaded with stars. It was about scheme. It was about the way that they could confuse you, make you see ghosts, as Sam Darnold was saying. Where was that yesterday? And we also have to look at Devontae Parker and Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore right now is up for Defensive Player of the Year, and we expect him to be able to stop every person that he lines up again. He's always on the number one, but he was having a tough day. Where were the doubles? Where was McCourty getting over the top of Gilmore? Where were the adjustments that Bill Belichick could make to give him some help on the outside? And so there were things that went on that last drive, 75 yards to Ryan Fitzpatrick, that could have been changed, that could have been adjusted. And in the end, you say when you don't score more than 24, max, score more than 24 against a bad team.
At
24
home.
points should be enough to win.
Hold
24
up,
points
Ryan.
should be enough to win, especially when you're up late in the fourth quarter. If Bill Belichick,
It was enough to beat Buffalo.
Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time. And sometimes we're going to have to look at the greatest and say, you know what? Today you have failed. Whether it's been Mike Vrabel recently, Matt Patricia recently, and now Brian Flores, many of his coaches who haven't had a ton of success outside of playing the Patriots or once they leave that organizations, have had success against Bill Belichick. So for one time, at some point, we're going to have to say he needed to be better. And I'm sure
agree.
if you ask him, he does.
Belichick needed, like when you lose to the Dolphins at home, when you need the win for the bye, there's plenty of blame to go around. The question is, who is the most to blame? And I say it's the ancient quarterback who the head coach and GM have protected by the way they've designed the team over the last 2 years. But sometimes they're going to need him to be better than just a middle-of-the-pack old guy. But like, what do we always say about Brady? Who can come through under pressure. He was so bad throughout a lot of that game, guys. We can't ignore that.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.